The Federal Reserve just lowered interest rates by another 25 basis points, or a quarter of 1%, which I'm sure you've heard about by now, and that is certainly not the news that I want to share with you here in this video, but rather on the back of that major announcement out of the Federal Reserve and after the press conference with the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, there's been some very interesting commentary coming out from that announcement and from the information released by the chairman. And that's what I want to share with you in this video, because this comes down to exactly what I've been talking about here across the channel for literally the last few years. And it is right here on the radar of the Fed, and it's a major concern of theirs and why they continue to cut interest rates. I want to talk through the details of that, as well as what this means over the coming days, weeks, and the next few months, and if things continue to unravel, what we would likely see sooner versus later, and how this could turn into a very precarious situation as far as not being very good. So let's talk through the details, because there's way more to it than just a 25 basis points or a quarter of 1 point interest rate cut, which, by the way, that's like nothing. It might make things a little bit less expensive if you're borrowing any money, like on an adjustable mortgage or an auto loan or anything like that, basically credit cards, stuff like that. Anything that has an adjustable interest rate, yeah, fine. A quarter of a point cut to the interest rate may save you a little bit of money, but realistically, it's not going to do a whole lot. But that's not the main story here. What the main story is the weakening job market. That's the major concern here. Now, again, I want to point this out really quickly, because those of you that generally watch the videos here on the channel might be thinking, this has nothing to do with what you typically talk about. Why are you even talking about this? It actually has a pretty big deal to do with what I generally talk about here on the channel. Now, obviously, I talk a lot about Social Security and all the benefits administered by the Social Security Administration, as well as I talk about other programs like stimulus, the distribution, dividends, rebates, stimulus payments, whatever you want to call it, other monthly benefit programs, anything like that. And remember, the distribution or approval of any of those types of programs is always predicated on the overall health of the economy. Well, guess what? What is the overall health of the economy generally predicated on? The job market. Yeah, the job market is basically the dog that wags the economy tail. Okay, so that's a major, major one. Well, the reason that the Federal Reserve cut interest rates yet again is because they're very concerned about an unraveling job market. Now, they have a dual mandate. Maybe you've heard this before, but they have a dual mandate. Number one, price stability. That's just a fancy way of saying basically keeping inflation within check, which, yeah, they've done a real good job of that over the last 5 years. Yeah, good job, guys, right? You've done a whole lot of nothing other than telling us that all prices are transitory. Prices are just very short-lived, these spikes. Don't worry, we'll be right back down at our 2% range very, very soon. It's been like 5 years, and they still haven't gotten there, so I guess I'm not really sure. Okay, to be fair, it's not quite 5 years. It's been like 4 years, okay? It's been like 4 years, a little less than 4 years, but fine, okay? Either way, it has not been transitory as they claim it to be. But we see this weakening job market, okay? So the dual mandate that they have is price stability, okay? So keeping inflation under check. And number two is maximum employment. Well, we're kind of feeling on both these fronts right now. We've got inflation sitting at about 3%, and we have a job market, a labor market that is weakening pretty significantly based on the most recent jobs numbers that we've been seeing. But basically what they're doing here is they're reducing interest rates to hopefully put some stability into the job market. A 25 basis point cut is not going to do anything to the job market, okay? It's just not going to do anything. Maybe like 5 people will keep their job. Not happening, though. For the most part, it's not going to offer much stability. But point being is that that's their major concern right now. Now, as I've said for years, which is this, basically, when the job market goes down, when the job market fails, that's basically like the late cycle, like, hey, the economy's in a really bad situation. We're in a very precarious situation. Economy's going down. When you see a major contraction in the job market and you see a spike in unemployment, that's when things get bad fast, because that's kind of very lagging indicators. But at that point, when you see that information coming across, it's already too late. And recently, over the last couple months here, we've been seeing weakening jobs numbers, weakening labor data coming across. Not looking very good. But the whole point here behind all this is that when the Federal Reserve cuts interest rates, That's a way for them to artificially stimulate the economy. That's what they're doing, is they're trying to stimulate the economy by cutting interest rates and making it less expensive to borrow money. When money is less expensive to borrow, then people, as in us and businesses, small, medium, and large, we maybe borrow more money and we spend that money in the economy and ultimately drive stimulus. It's not going to be enough. They're not cutting interest rates nearly to the degree that they need to actually stimulate on the scale that they want to actually bring the labor market back up and bring it into a healthy range. This is not happening. They're not cutting interest rates nearly to the degree. But the problem that they face is that if they do cut interest rates aggressively, guess what? Now we have runaway inflation. So they have this dual mandate and they're struggling with both of them simultaneously. If they cut interest rates too aggressively, we have spiking inflation. If they keep interest rates too high, then we have a crashing labor market. You see the situation here? Okay, so basically they've got their back against the wall. But point being is that I've seen a number of data points coming out. I've seen a bunch of people talking about this, major economists, all people coming out, people talking about this, suggesting that if we see any further cuts out of the Federal Reserve after this one that we just got here, that's basically going to be our signal from the Fed to basically say the economy is in a very bad, weak, precarious situation. Therefore, they need to keep cutting interest rates to avoid a major crash and burn of the economy. Not good, right? And remember, as I've said before in other videos, if the economy crashes and burns, guess what they do? They lower interest rates aggressively very quickly. Lawmakers pass hundreds of billions or trillions of dollars worth of stimulus. They call on the Federal Reserve to print the money, and they stimulate like absolute crazy. I've been saying this for a while now. The next major crash and burn in the economy that we have, not some little, the economy's contracting a little bit, or another, 10, 15, 20% pullback in the stock market, something like that. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a major crash and burn. When we have our next one, it's going to happen at some point. This whole thing that we're dealing with, this hyperbolic, parabolic marketplace that we're seeing right now, this is not normal. We're having a very strong stock market. Meanwhile, an overall economy that honestly blows. It's not very good for a lot of people, especially the lowest income and fixed income beneficiaries, people living on a small income. They're getting hammered right now and have been for the last several years. But point being is that when we go into another major crash and burn, we're going to see massive stimulus unlike anything we've ever seen in this country before. A few years ago, back in 2020, 2021, they printed $6 trillion. At the time, that was a massive amount of money. This next time around, that $6 trillion is going to be nothing compared to what they do this next time, because the crash is going to be greater. The need for more money and stimulus is going to be greater. It's going to be nuts. They're going to run the printing press like it's going out of style. They're basically going to devalue our money like crazy. It's going to be helicopter money again, and it's going to be nuts. But until then, we're going to continue to sit in this grinding situation of, we got this economy that blows for most people. It's okay for some. Stock market's just doing whatever it is. We're going to continue to be fed all these different lines saying, the economy's the greatest in the world, in the greatest of the history of the world. This is the greatest economy. And all of us are saying, no, it's not. This is all gaslighting. It's BS. It's not the case for the vast majority of people. But anyway, basically what's happening here, Federal Reserve cutting interest rates, making it sound like, we're just trying to, make sure that the job market is strong and make sure that we're not going to get into a very, tough inflation situation. Yeah, we're good. But basically what they're signaling here is that they're backed against the wall. They're in a very nasty situation where they have this dual mandate, and no matter what they do, they're going to make the wrong answer for one of them. They're either going to get spiking inflation or a crashing job market. And when the job market crashes and burns, you see the whole economy come down. Because when people lose their jobs, guess what they do? Nothing. They don't go out and spend. They don't go out and buy a bunch of stuff. They contract on their spending. And when we see contraction in spending, that's when we see the doom loop continue. More and more people getting laid off, businesses cutting. And then the loop continues until the Fed comes in and bails out by printing a pile of money in the trillions, multiple trillions of dollars. And we've got so many other catalysts on our doorstep right now. So It's going to be very, very interesting. And again, I know that I say that all the time. We're in this very precarious situation. And again, I know I keep saying that, but it's true. This situation that we're in right here, right now, is something that we have not seen in a variety of years. We've got so many different catalysts right now that could really crash and burn this economy very quickly. Okay? It's not holding on by much. We're like teetering on the edge of a massive cliff. It's going to be very interesting to see how this whole thing plays out over the coming weeks and months here. But if any little slight breeze comes along and pushes us off this cliff, get ready, because the Fed's going to stimulate like nothing we have ever seen before in this country. It's going to be nuts. The amount of money that they're going to print is going to be in the multiple trillions of dollars, probably dwarfing the $6 trillion that we saw 5 years ago, 6 years ago, back in 2020, 2021, the $6 trillion then. It's going to be nuts. Anyway, don't let this 25 basis point or this 1/4% rate cut, don't let this fool you. This is great for some people, me included. I'm going to be fair with you, me included. I don't enjoy carrying a big balance on a credit card and paying the 21.5% or whatever it is interest. Funny, interesting note. I literally just got an email from my credit card company today. Okay, Chase, by the way. I have a few credit cards through Chase, and they emailed me today. Hey, congratulations, we want to raise your credit limit by something like $4,000 or something. I'm like, no, don't give me a higher credit limit. I don't want to put more money on the card. That's the last thing I want to do right now. And I was like, no, I am not interested in a $4,000 credit limit increase on my credit card. I mean, thanks for the offer, but not interested right now, okay? So my point being is that they're basically coming to me and basically being like, hey, you see you got a big balance on your card. Do you want another $4,000 you can blow and carry on your card? No, I don't. I do not want that, because that just means that, well, that's a lot more interest that I don't want to pay, right? Exactly. So anyway, this will be good for some people, this 1/4 point, but it's not going to be much. Nonetheless, let's continue to watch what happens here. I'll continue to keep you posted. If you have not done so, please consider subscribing. 100% free. Big subscribe button down below. Please share the video. Big share button down below. Otherwise, stay tuned. It is a weird, weird, weird time that we are in right now, and I'll continue to keep you posted. Otherwise, again, please subscribe if you're new. If you have not done so, please consider subscribing. Otherwise, stay tuned. I'll see you again later in the next video. Otherwise, happy holidays. Stay warm out there. It's nuts across the country. And I look forward to seeing you again soon in the next video. Catch you later.